Right, gang, I'm going to play you a video and many of you are going to doubt it. And I understand why you're going to doubt it because I queried it myself. The sound quality on this video in terms of the translation sounds very dubious. The reason for that is that this is a man that is testifying in the German parliament before a committee in the German parliament in the Bundestag. And it's been translated into English using AI, and the AI has done a terrible job. You can understand what he's saying, but the tone, the tonality, the phrasing all sounds off. So I queried it at first to say, is this real? AI itself, answering the question, has said, yes, it is a translation. It's a poor translation, but it is a translation from Germany. And I've looked and I've actually found the original video in German. So the hearing itself, the statements are correct. Obviously, I guess you'd have to learn for yourself whether the translation is correct or not, but lots and lots of people have verified that it is. Watch this. What's it about? It's about a man testifying before the German parliament, before a German parliamentary committee regarding the vaccines. You know which vaccines I mean. Watch this.
After its youth, served as the chief toxicologist for Pfizer Europe. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. There I was responsible for all animal experiments that served to ensure the safety of medical devices.
Thank you. My questions relate to Kuminati from Pfizer BTech. You have intensively engaged with the approval process for this vaccine, including a thorough review of the documentation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Was the carcinogenicity of this vaccine checked before approval?
No, the carcinogenic risk was not investigated due to time constraints. It strikes me, incidentally, as very worrying and frankly regrettable that no investigation into possible alternatives was carried out.
In Germany, but also in many other countries, we have observed that the birth rate collapsed after the vaccination campaign.
Well, you are referring to studies on reproduction. A flawed study using Comirnaty was conducted on a group of rats. This made it impossible to conduct any reliable assessments of the vaccine's impact on pregnancy or on the child's subsequent development. Nothing had been learned from the catastrophe. According to the RKI protocol, approval was granted in fast-track processes. It followed that crucial toxicity tests were sacrificed in favor of speed, and this sacrifice lacked any acceptable rationale. I am not aware of any case in which all these studies were omitted for a comparable indication, however. The approval led to prohibited human trials.
The RKI noted internally at the time that side effects and vaccine damage should only be examined after the vaccine was launched on the market. What was the outcome?
In Pfizer's post-marketing surveillance report, over 1,200 suspected death cases were recorded within just 2 months following the drug's approval. Comirnaty should have been withdrawn from the market by then at the latest. If I am correctly informed, the Paul Ehrlich Institute has received 2,133 reports of deaths after Comirnaty to date. These spontaneous reports have a high number of unreported cases due to underreporting. The real number is therefore much higher. In the USA, it is assumed that there is underreporting due to an underreporting factor of 30, but which the registered cases would have to be multiplied. For Germany, this would correspond to 60,000 deaths from the vaccination.
60,000. Therefore, the German federal government is withholding vital SafeWac and KVD data concerning vaccine side effects, and the majority of this commission has even declined to request this information. Could vaccine injuries and deaths have been prevented if the vaccine had been approved in accordance with the rules?
Yes, because in accordance with the rules, Comirnaty should not have been approved at all.
Many people in Germany who suffered injuries due to vaccinations are currently fighting for compensation for pain and suffering, and they often lose because the courts say that Comirnaty has a positive benefit-risk ratio. Is this assumption justified?
In my opinion, not at all. Comirnaty was not investigated at all during clinical development for the prevention of severe diseases or deaths. The Pfizer documents, therefore, do not indicate a positive benefit-risk ratio at all. Mathematician Robert Rockefeller from the University of Koblenz estimates that for every severe course of COVID that Comirnaty supposedly prevents. There are 25 serious side effects.
Okay. Has the age-adjusted mortality rate in Germany increased since the start of this vaccination campaign?
No. Mortality increased significantly from 2021 to 2022 compared to 20. With a positive benefit-risk ratio, mortality should have decreased when the vaccine beginning of 2021. That makes sense.
Did the population receive the active ingredient that Pfizer tested in the shortened emergency approval procedure during the vaccination campaign? No. No.
A highly pure substance was used for the clinical trial prior to approval. It was too expensive for mass production. The entire population was administered a vaccine that was manufactured using the bacterium Escherichia coli. The result is significant contamination with bacterial DNA, and the consequence could be a significantly increased risk of cancer.
So you get what I mean when I say the sound quality is not great and the AI translation is not great. However, let's get to the facts. The facts are that that man is the former chief toxicologist for Pfizer, and he was talking about the Comirnaty vaccine produced by Pfizer and talking about the safety checks, the validity checks, and the actual safety protocols around that vaccine and how safe it was. So they asked him, did you do any carcinogenic testing before it was rolled out? I.e., did you test whether in any way these particular vaccines might be cancer causing? No, we didn't do those tests. Was right at the end, you might have missed it at the end, right at the end they said, was the vaccine that you ran your original tests on the same as the one that was rolled out to the general public? No, it wasn't. Why was that? Well, we did the testing on a highly purified version of the vaccine, but it would have been too expensive to roll that out. So we rolled out a lesser version to everybody else. And then the critical thing is that he says that he believes that there have been over 2,000 reported deaths in Germany due to the vaccine. However, US studies seem to say or seem to suggest that the level of underreporting of these things is anything as much as 30 times. And therefore, if that is correct, as many as 60,000 people may have died in Germany from the vaccines. Now, I have to use the word allegedly, may have, etc., because none of this is proven. Whether it will ever be proven, we don't know. But just bear in mind, this man is a former senior toxicologist for Pfizer themselves, basically saying they didn't follow the safety protocols. The vaccine should have been removed from the market. They didn't test whether it was carcinogenic or not. And the vaccine that everyone was actually given wasn't even the one they tested in the first place anyway. That alone is shocking. For him then to go on and say that he believes there may have been as many as 60,000 deaths in Germany due to it should set off fire alarms around the world. Why is this not headline news in the UK? Why is it not headline news absolutely everywhere? Why, potentially, are some of these vaccines still being handed out to people? Do your own research. I've got the links to these videos. They're on X. If you do a search on X on Pfizer toxicologist Bundestag, for example, or testimony, it will come up. And you'll be able to watch it in German if you want. If you speak German and you want to check the validity of the translation, just go and check it in German. How shocked are you by that? How shocked are you by a senior Pfizer official telling you all of these truths?